Have a break in the disappearance of Today Show anchor Savannah Guthrie's missing mother. I'm Michael Smerconish in the Philly burbs. Last night, police, including SWAT teams, swarmed an area about 2 miles from Nancy Guthrie's home in Arizona. Authorities cleared out and reopened the roads just before 4 Eastern time this morning. The Sheriff's Department said that because this is a joint investigation, at the request of the FBI, no further information is available, but a written statement is incoming. Joining me now is John Miller, CNN Chief Law Enforcement and Intelligence Analyst, and Charles Ramsey, CNN Senior Law Enforcement Analyst. John, what information might you have? I know we're in a position where perhaps there's more unknown than known.
Well, what we know is that they had a location last night. They developed enough information on that location to go to a judge, get a search warrant showing they had probable cause to believe that could have something to do with this case. They hit that location. They also took an individual and detained him for questioning only. We understand that individual was cooperative, that they asked their questions, and ultimately this lead washed out. That individual was released. It's another dead end. But Michael, I want to point out, we may see a couple more of these as this goes on. As you know, we saw one of these earlier this week, 60 miles south of Tucson. The nature of a case like this is different because it's a kidnapping. Unlike the normal criminal investigation where they can take their time and look at things much longer, there's a victim in the balance. And in cases where they develop something that rises to probable cause, they're likely to go get that warrant and go in because of the exigent circumstances of, if we have a rescue of our victim or a location of our victim, we have to move faster. And I think we saw that again last night, but this particular lead is not going to go any further.
Chief Ramsey, what does your spidey sense tell you about the overall status of the investigation?
Well, I mean, it's being actively investigated, and John made an excellent point. You know, this one may not have worked out, others may not in the future, but there's a lot of effort being put into this particular case, and they have to follow the different leads. Now, they're getting thousands of tips, and one of the things you do when you have something like that, you have to prioritize. Some tips are going to look more credible than other tips, and so they're doing the best they can to try to get through these things as fast as they can, because this has gotten so much attention. Everything they do is going to be captured by the media. In a normal case, when you have things like this happen, and maybe it's not the person that you were looking for, nobody knows other than you, simply because it's not getting the same kind of coverage. So it can give the impression that things aren't going very well, but they're still getting a lot of information. And all it takes is just one solid tip to lead them to the offender in this case, and hopefully to Nancy.
John, as you mentioned, they had to meet a probable cause standard in front of a magistrate, and I note that a SWAT team served the warrant. The combination of the two of those, they must have thought they were really onto something.
As they did in the last case, but that's it. You get a lead, then you develop information on top of that lead, then you stack it up and you say, how compelling, how convincing, how urgent is this? And, you know, as you point out, as I mentioned, it's not just their judgment. In other words, they're not running around with SWAT teams hitting houses. These are carefully considered. They are discussed among the investigators and up and down the chain of command. And before they bring it to that magistrate, they are able to present that there is a more than reasonable suspicion that this is going to be a lead that has to be covered. Why the SWAT team? When you're talking about a kidnapping where a victim may be held in a location against their will, that's the kind of thing where you're probably going to do a more dynamic entry than a door knock, but that's up to the tactical commander at the scene about how they do that, but you bring the resources you need anyway. And behind that, we also saw the forensics teams, which means, you know, once they don't locate a victim there, they want to look for and collect any signs that a victim ever was there. Now, in this case, it doesn't look like that this place had anything to do with it, but information was developed in the course of the investigation that led them there.
John, do you have any reporting on the Range Rover that was apparently seized?
Nothing specific, but if you look at the dynamics of both the incident earlier this week and last night's, in both cases, they stopped a car, they held that car, they obtained a search warrant for that car as well, and we saw that again last night. That's one of those things where you want to process that car and be able to find out with the assistance of science and testing, whether you're a victim had ever been in that house or had ever been in that car. That's the likely scenario we saw unfold last night.
Chief Ramsey, it seems like the activity, and I understand we've made clear that there's not been a successful hit so far, but that the activity seems concentrated in that local area. Your thoughts?
They probably have information where they believe that this is someone involved in this who's within that area, general area, 5-10 mile radius, maybe perhaps a little bit more. But it's all based on the information that they have right now. And just to add one thing to what John said about that car, remember there was blood found on the front porch that belonged to Nancy Guthrie. And so they'll be processing that car and any other vehicle to see whether or not she was in that car, which would not be difficult because she was bleeding. They'd be able to pick up the DNA to prove that she was actually in the car. So that's something really to kind of keep in mind.
John, will you say something about the role that technology is playing in this? I mean, I'm mindful of the fact that the video captured the guy with the mask, then the identification of the backpack, the Walmart possibility of purchase. I would think maybe a crosstab then with driver's license information. That's the sort of thing that is being used to piece this together that we don't see on camera. True?
This is the quintessential example of the modern criminal investigation. It is also breaking new ground. The stunning work that was done by the FBI, the Operational Technology Division, OTD, most importantly, the engineers at Google, where they were able to dig through a system and find material that was not supposed to be retained. It was going to be recycled and recorded over, but they were able to locate that. And we may see more of that. I mean, that's a Nest system. There are likely other cameras part of that system in that house, and the one that they focused on was the front door because that's where the blood was. But it is in the realm of possibility we may see more video from other cameras. But this cuts both ways.